Hey guys, welcome to Varma's Chem. This video is going to be entirely about how you calculate the molar mass. And what molar mass basically means is, how do I know how many grams of a certain chemical will give me a mole? And why is it different for different elements in chemicals? So obviously you've got many different elements, many different compounds that end up forming substances. Why is it that you have different gram amounts, different weights that will give you 1 mole? That's what this video is about. So you're going to learn to calculate the molar mass, which tells you how many grams will give you exactly 1 mole. And in order to be able to do that, there's two things that you absolutely need to remember. Hey, you guys paying attention there? I hope you are. So there's two things you absolutely need to know. You have to have the correct formula. Without the correct formula, you cannot figure out how much a mole weighs. And the second thing you need to be able to do is how to read a formula. So all those numbers, you need to be able to interpret them correctly when you are calculating a formula. To understand the concept of molar mass, you need to realize that we're talking about a mole, which is that enormous number, 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd, or Avogadro's number. Remember, we are counting by weighing. In the moles video, I had talked about sodium chloride. And so that is what we're going to use to focus on. So we're going to learn and hone our skills on how to calculate molar mass. Just understand the concept using sodium chloride. Okay. So I have some sodium chloride here. Hopefully the overhead camera will be able to catch this. I've got a certain amount of sodium chloride here. The first step we're going to try and figure out is, what is the molar mass of sodium chloride? That's what we're looking to do here. Now you're absolutely going to need your periodic table. So your trusty periodic table, make sure you keep this with you. I'm going to have this right next to me, and we're going to be focused on calculating the molar mass using this. You absolutely need to take really, really good notes. Otherwise it's not going to work. So I'm going to start by just slowly going through this systematically and filling out a grid, and I'm hoping you can follow along. Hit pause as you go through this, because it's going to really help you. So for the formula for sodium chloride, guys, I used to be able to do this without glasses. Getting old. Okay, so the compound name is sodium chloride. Okay, and I'm hoping you can see this. And the formula for this compound is NaCl. So the formula for sodium chloride is NaCl. You should be able to recognize instantly that there is a 1 here and a 1 here because there are no numbers written. It's made up of 2 elements. So the symbols are Na and Cl. And the elements, so you're going to need your periodic table for this. There's sodium. Okay, and so we've got sodium. So there's 2 elements here. We've got sodium and we've got chlorine. And we're going to use these numbers down below, which are their atomic masses, to solve this problem, which is, we're trying to figure out the molar mass. So you're going to use this number on the bottom, and you're going to use this number on the bottom. Now, for purposes of this video, and because this is an introductory class on how to calculate molar mass, I'm going to round these numbers as we're solving these problems. Okay, so sodium, the element is, just write out the name because it's good habit to get into. Chlorine is the second element in this compound. Okay, and the number of atoms, and so this is kind of nuanced, so you have to pay attention here. The number of atoms is 1 of sodium and 1 of chlorine. Okay, now if you look over here, you're going to notice that I have it listed as atoms and I have it listed as moles. So which is it? They're very different things. An atom represents just one single atom. A mole represents that ginormous number. Now, if I am talking about a single atom, or a single molecule of this compound, sorry, not an atom, a single molecule of sodium chloride, this right here, if I have just one of them, you would say, there's just one atom. But if I'm talking about a mole, remember that big number is Avogadro's number, a mole of this chemical, so if I'm talking about a mole of this, right here, if I'm talking about a mole of this chemical, not one atom, then this represents 1 mole. So it can be either an atom or it can be a mole, depending on how the question is phrased. So for one atom or for one mole, it can be interpreted either way, depending on what you're being asked. When we're calculating molar mass, however, we're interested in the mole. So for our purposes right now, we're going to ignore the atom. So I'm just kind of putting a line through this. So you're focused on the mole aspect of things, okay? Because we're interested in that very large number. Now the weight, same deal applies here. So the weight you're getting right off the periodic table. The weight of sodium is, I'm going to round this again, as I said, this is going to be 23, and chlorine is going to be 35. Okay, so I'm going to write 23 and 35. Now, if I was, again, talking about a single molecule of this chemical, this would be AMU. But we're right now trying to figure out how much does a mole weigh. Therefore, for a mole, this number is going to be represented in grams. Let me repeat that. So this is a little nuanced, guys, and it takes a little getting used to this. If I'm asking you about one molecule of sodium chloride, not a whole bunch, just one, you would say there's one atom of sodium, one atom of chlorine. The sodium weighs 23 atomic mass units. The chlorine weighs 35 atomic mass units. However, we're interested not in one atom, but a whole mole of this chemical. Therefore, what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about either a mole for the number of atoms, and for the weight, we're going to be talking in grams. So again, sodium would be 1 mole, chlorine 1 mole. 1 mole of sodium weighs 23 grams. 1 mole of chlorine weighs 35 grams. You multiply these two together. Okay, so again, you're multiplying the number of sodiums right here. You're just multiplying these two, and this is going to be equal to 23 grams. Again, I'm just rounding. This is going to be equal to 1 times 35 is 35 grams. You add it up, that gives you 58 grams. Okay, so 58 grams is the molar mass of sodium chloride. So that's very, very important to recognize. So all you're doing here is you are multiplying the atoms of from your formula. You're multiplying the atoms by the weight off of the periodic table. In this example, again, since we're starting out, I'm rounding this so you can understand the concept, but you need to absolutely not be rounding this as we start going through additional problems and on tests and stuff like that. Again, right here, chlorine, I rounded this just to show you how you do it. This is 35 grams. You add it all up, you get 58 grams. Now, 58 grams is how much 1 mole of sodium chloride weighs. Okay, so 1 mole of sodium chloride, this is the weight. Weighs 58 grams. Okay, need for you to recognize that. So 58 grams is in 58 grams, there will be exactly 1 mole. So that's 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd number of molecules. I also need for you to write down all the synonyms that exist for molar mass, and I use it interchangeably inside in a lab. We routinely use the names kind of somewhat inconsistently, perhaps, but there's several synonyms for molar mass. And so I need for you to write these down as well, because these are absolutely critical to remembering all the different terms. So synonyms for molar mass, you will often hear it referred to as formula weight. Means the exact same thing. You derive it the exact same way, but it's also called formula weight. It's also called molecular weight. Okay, and for certain classes of compounds, like sodium chloride, you may also see the phrase gram formula mass. Just remember, whenever you see any of these terms, formula weight, molecular weight, gram formula mass, you are simply doing this entire calculation to come up with this number right here. So that is how you go about calculating molar mass. So the following video is going to be about how you figure out how many moles you would have in this weighing boat right here, depending on what your weight is. So this is the first step, super important concept. Hope you found it helpful. If you did, smack that like button, and just remember the best way to learn is to teach somebody else. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye.